Sometimes, as an artist, you start to make a drawing and a painting without really thinking of the outcome and the meaning of what you are doing. It is often while doing and looking at the final result that you understand the meaning which is unveiled the further you progress into the building up of the painting. It is a bit similar to the burning incense, material and solid, that you burn and transform into a smoke or breath, which is elevating in the sky, revealing the mysterious thoughts or idea behind. Thoughts often are assimilated to smoke or vapor, something that you cannot really see, something that it is not visible but which exists since you can think about it, coming from a material or physical brain, if it makes sense. I don't really know where I'm going there as an introduction to this new art video, but I think the subject matter of this painting is about this kind of transfiguration of our material life into an immaterial spiritual essence which could reveal who we really are. But before I dive more into this subject, let's start by the beginning, which is how I proceeded with this painting. I used this beautiful arch paper, a cold pressed one, very textured, to draw the sketch. I went to Greece during summer, and as usual, I never miss paying a visit to the archaeological museum. I literally fell in love with the very old archaeological artifact style of the museum, artifacts dated before Christ and influenced by Oriental art, like from the Levant or Egypt, which is so different from what we think, at least what I thought, what Greek ancient art is. I will put some pictures somewhere here so you can have an idea of which type of art I'm talking about. The sculptures, for example, felt more simple, less detailed, but more elegant in a way, less sensual also, I would say. Back home, I knew I wanted to make a painting inspired by this art. It took me a while before finding an idea, but one day I started to sketch this idea. In my mind, I was thinking of two priests, a male and a female, in a temple, and one of these priests would hold this light, which was burning incense. There will be the smoke, and the scene will take place at night. And then, as I was adding details to the drawing, I felt that I had to add a third character, and it became this child in between the two characters. I decided to go for watercolor sennelier and gouache goretake for the coloring parts, and before committing, since I didn't want to waste such expensive paper, I did a little mock-up digitally to be able to determine the colors, the saturation, the position of the light and shadow. It is something now I'm doing almost systematically, planning my color digitally beforehand, and that I really recommend you, especially if you are not really sure on how the lighting should be in a painting. Now, regarding the composition, composition is something I really enjoy doing. It is something that comes usually naturally, but it is also a well thought process, which is not only by chance. In one of my previous video, I will link this video below in the comment section, I talked about lines composition, and this new painting is not an exception to the rule. The three characters are not positions in the center of the paper. I put them a bit on the side, and they form this diagonal. The male priest is the tallest, even if the child in between is smaller. Their eyes both converge to the incense burning, giving this effect of a diagonal line and inviting the viewer to look in the direction of the incense. The female priest, on the contrary, is looking straight forward, the line of her eyes following an horizontal line, which is also mirrored by the structure of the temple behind. The temple was quite challenging to draw regarding the perspective and the structures, and I hope I managed to do it well. The floor and also the columns, the statues, how they align, we can feel this horizontal line. Now, why this horizontal line? I wanted to give the feeling of movement to the lady priest. She is moving on with the burning incense, going from darkness to light, maybe going outside of the temple actually. This is when I thought about that I started to understand the meaning of the painting I was doing. To come back to what I was talking about in the beginning of this video, I do think the subject of this painting is the ethereal meaning of incense. When I go to Greece, I never fail to buy some incense from the church or monastery. Burning incense, burning a fire, cooking, boiling water. These are alchemist operations. In science, it is called sublimation, which refers to alchemy as well. If you really think about it, these simple and daily operations are the transformation of a material object into an immaterial smoke or vapor. I explained also earlier how ideas are coming from a material brain and are not visible. But you could also tell me that from great ideas you create great material things. So this transfiguration could go in two directions, from material to immaterial, and from immaterial to material. Isn't it how God created the world? From an idea? The priest male is holding this scepter, something physical, vertical and grounded, I would say. And the female is holding this burning incense, a light, a flame, and a smoke going up vertically toward the sky. One is wearing this red color, which could symbolize the physical human, and the other one is wearing this light blue, which could represent the spiritual. In between, this child is in white, and probably an apprentice. The three of them could be actually a family. Maybe this child could represent the human, always a child, and always learning and yearning for the more spiritual meaning in his life. They are the three of them going out of this temple, leaving behind the solid statues and idols, living a physical and material life, perhaps. Yes, that was all the thoughts and thinking I have while making this painting. Maybe you will think that I'm going too far. I'm not a philosopher and I don't know if I express my thoughts well, but I just wanted to share with you what was on my mind while doing this painting. Now for the final details to make them pop out, I used some color pencils. I don't like to overdo color pencils because I want the transparency of the watercolors to stay vibrant. If you noticed, I also only used Chinese brushes for this painting, and it was really game-changing. From now on, I will use only these brushes most of the time. I bought them very cheap on Amazon, and I don't know which kind of technology they have inside it, but they are so good for watercolor and ink. You can use them flat for large layers with a lot of water. They can retain a lot of water in the bristles without running out quickly, but you can use them as well very precisely using the point sides of the brush for fine details, doing dry technique as well. I have to admit they probably surpass my very expensive Raphael brushes, and I really don't know why I never tried Chinese brushes before. I highly recommend them. Concerning the overall technique of this painting, I use the layering technique. I wait for the watercolor to dry fully before adding a new layer. This is how I managed to create, for example, this effect of sheerness in the clothes of the female priest, and as well the effect of shadow nearby the male priest. I hope you enjoyed this new video. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this painting and if you enjoyed this more essay approach in my art video as well. The next video should be an oil painting, so I'll let you watch the rest. We are almost at the end. So thank you again, see you very soon, and bye bye.